Hello everyone and welcome back to another Ableton tutorial. Big shout out to everyone who's getting involved, subscribing on Patreon, and I've got some cool things coming over there, some sample packs, some field recordings and stuff in the next few weeks. Big shout out to everyone who's subscribing here as well. I really appreciate all the support. And big shout out to everyone who's engaging, asking questions, giving me suggestions. It's really appreciated. Feel free to add comments and suggestions here if there's things you want me to dive into more. So today, well, we're looking at feedback today. You probably figured that out from the title of this video. I'm going to look at creating a sort of self-playing, self-regulating feedback patch. You can hear it going on in the background there. That's some feedback. It's doing all of that by itself. It's playing itself. So we're going to look at that, how to control it, what it can do, and all of that kind of a thing. So I'm going to start by deleting that. And we're going to start from scratch. So I'm going to do this using just a return track in Ableton. So I'm going to go, create, insert return track, and we have a brand new return track there. Now, first things first, I'm going to put a limiter on that return track because things can get out of control, and going to put a limiter on the main output. Oh, there was already a limiter. We've got two limiters on the main output now. We only need one, just to make sure that things don't get too out of control. Now, feedback, if you're new to sort of electronic music or new to Ableton stuff, feedback, you've probably most likely experienced it when someone is pointing a microphone at a speaker, and perhaps you're a little bit scared of it as a result. Understandable, not a particularly nice sound. Or when a guitarist is standing in front of a wall of Marshall amps, and you get the feedback happening there as well. Simply put, feedback is taking the output signal and rerouting it back into the input of that system, whatever that system is. So in the case of the microphone, you are having a very small input into the microphone, just the white noise, the sort of general ambience of the room. That signal is then being sent to the speakers, which is then going back into the microphone, which is then going back into the speakers, creating a loop, a feedback loop. Same thing's happening with guitar, of course, slightly different with the pickups, but it's the same situation. I'm just going to bring in a delay. Let's take a look at Ableton's simple delay here. So we can have a look at this concept. So we have feedback here. Now, when I first started playing around with delays, I thought that was just the number of echoes that the delay was doing. I thought feedback, delay, I thought they were the same thing. But no, feedback in this context is saying what percentage of the output signal are we going to feed back into the input of this module. So if the feedback's sort of all the way down low, then we're getting hardly any of the output signal put back in. So we only get, one or two iterations of the delay. When you start playing around with delays and you put the feedback up, up high, is when you start getting dub delays, when the feedback starts becoming more than the output signal. We get some interesting results, which is exactly what we're going to play around with today. So what we're going to do, I'm going to bring in just a new audio channel as well to begin with, Command T, audio channel, because we need something to trigger the feedback. And so to trigger the feedback, I'm just going to use Ableton's vinyl distortion plugin, which is a really nice distortion modeler, but it also has this lovely crackle thing here, which I can turn up. And you hear some crackling, and we're just going to use that to sort of trigger the delay, trigger the feedback. And so I'm going to send that channel over to the return channel over here that at the moment only has a limiter on it. Now, if I enable this send so that I can send this channel back into itself. So if I right click, we can choose enable send, and now I can send the return channel A to the return channel A. Now at the moment we have no feedback, no sound, but as soon as I ping it with a little bit of crackle, we'll get a very annoying sound. There we go. Now I've turned the crackle off and we just have that annoying sound pinging itself. That's really, really annoying. So that's the basic way that feedback works. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, modulate that sound a bit. We're going to use all sorts of different things to sort of make that a self-playing feedback patch. So first things first, we've done first things first. That was the limiter. Let's add an echo, because echo is a lovely way to begin to get feedback happening. So going to bring that in before the limiter. Limiter is going to happen at the end of the whole chain. And before I ping it again, I'm just going to add a couple of things already. I'm going to use some CV tools, some LFOs on this. So I'm going to bring in one, and I'm going to just bring in 2 LFOs on here. And I'm going to unsync these, and I'm going to actually unlink them from each other. And I'm going to use these LFOs to change the time, the delay time here. I'm going to change these to random, and I'm going to just make it smooth, because I don't want it sort of zipping around. Make it smooth, and going to bring the rate right down on both of them. I like to have them a little bit different. So now we've got slightly different things happening on the left and the right. Yeah, let's make that 0.6 exactly. Going to map you to here. I'm going to map you to here. And I probably don't want it going the whole range. I'm going to say I want it going from 5 to say 50, and let's make this one slightly different, from 3 until 45. Okay, now let's see what happens if we ping it with this crackle. Hey! It's playing a chord. Just going to turn this down a little bit. And already we're getting something interesting happening there. This it's kind of cool. And as you can see, this will continue changing and continue evolving as it goes. We're going to turn this up to 100% dry wet and just add a little bit more on the feedback. Let's try pinging it again. Going to bring the limiter down on this. Already this is kind of cool, but let's take it a few steps further. So I'm just going to, ooh, that was fun. Ooh. Hello. I'm going to group all of that, and we're going to call you echo stuff. Now, let's do some stuff with some sort of modulating EQ kind of a stuff. So I'm going to bring in an EQ, just the EQ8 is lovely for this. And again, we can minimize you. We don't need you right now. We're gonna add a bunch of LFOs. Probably let's Command D, Command D, Command D. Duplicate all of this. And I'm just going to map these to a bunch of the parameters. Essentially, we can use filters 2 and 3. But also want a little 1 and 1. Okay, let's do the 1 first. So we're going to map number 1, and we're going to map you to here. And we're going to make you that kind of a thing. Yeah. We don't want it going up nearly so high as that. Just going to waver the bottom end a little bit, and much slower, please. Lovely. Now, let's relabel this 1 frequency. Now, let's add you to, we're going to go number 2. Again, we're going to map you to the frequency, and we're going to map you to the gain. So now we have that going all up and down. We're going to slow these right down again. And again, maybe we don't want it going all the way up to 100%. We can see that flip-flopping all about. Now let's do the same thing for number 3. Going to map you to number 3. And what this is going to do is this is going to bring out just a bunch of peaks, random peaks and troughs throughout the whole thing. Yeah, frequency, we don't want you going all the way down, and we don't want you going all the way up either. Let's change that on this one. So yeah, somewhere around there. So it's going to create a bunch of peaks and troughs, and you can see the EQ shape sort of flip-flopping all the way around. Now let's, we seem to have lost the ping. I'm going to ping it again with a bit of crackle. There we go. Now we can hear we're getting some movement in all the areas. I'm going to add an echo at the end because I want it to just keep, no, not an echo. I'm going to add a hybrid reverb at the end of the whole chain. Where have you gone, hybrid reverb? Hybrid reverb. Let's put you in here. We're going to turn that up to... lovely. Okay. Now it's feeling a bit more eerie, and now that's just going to kind of just keep going. Nudge you off so you're not distorting so much. Lovely. Okay, so we have this EQ kind of flippity-flippiting about. Gonna add another thing in here I think would be nice. Oh wait, let's consolidate, let's group all of this so we keep organized and what's doing what. Let's rename that chain, let's call that EQ Flipper. Let's relabel some of this. Can I do it here? No, I have to open you. To frequency. To gain. Just so I know what's doing what and I can find it again quickly. 3 frequency. 3 gain. And actually, you know what's going to be really nice is if I duplicate that and we pan them. Now we're getting completely different. Yes, really nice. So now we have a really beautiful stereo image happening. Okay, that's that. Let's add an auto filter in here. And I'm going to use a band reject. And again, we can bring in another LFO. Now what I'm wanting to do is make this auto filter just kind of go like this. Really slowly. And what that will do is we'll stop any of those sort of really high piercing frequencies from sort of getting too stuck in the system, I guess is what that is. I don't want those things to just be hanging around. So, just going to map it to here. I only wanted to go from 50 to 100 and much, much slower, please. And we're going to turn the resonance so it's nice wide. And this will just make sure that none of those frequencies get too stuck. That after a while they're going to get shunted out by this EQ. Maybe even a little bit slower is what needs to happen on that. And you can hear there it's taking care of that high frequency sound and we're moving things around. Okay, now, what's really nice here is let's add some distortion to the whole thing. Of course, distortion in the sort of broadest possible... hello. Yeah, distortion in the broadest possible sense adds harmonics. It adds overtones. So we're going to let's use raw for this because raw is really nice. It doesn't have to be raw. You don't have to use these exact plugins that I've used. You can try some of your own stuff. You're adults. But I'm using raw because it has some lovely shaping options here. Ooh, that was fun. I'm going to go for like a fractal fold. And distortion after reverb, I always love the effect. No, it's just a little bit too something. What's the word that I'm looking for? Ooh. Oh, hello. Okay. Now let's just add another EQ after all of that, so we don't hear... Ooh, that's nice. Another EQ in here. Here I'm just taming some of these frequencies that I can hear a lot. A little bit too much distortion maybe. Let's switch you back to this, actually. Maybe let's just make this This is nice. Let's go back here and adjust some of the settings on this. Actually, what I'm going to do... No, for now, let's just add a little bit of this reverb in here. Let's add this to the feedback as well. Nice little reverb modeler inside this echo. Now I'm going to add some OTT in here, so multi-band dynamics. We're going to use the OTT preset. And I always like this on about 50%. This preset, when it's at 100%, it is a little bit over the top. But yeah, let's try it about 50% there. Kind of enjoying this. We're in a nice ballpark here. Now, I'm going to make it a little bit self-regulating, so it can control itself a bit. And we're going to do that using an envelope shaper. So let's bring in an envelope shaper envelope follower. So I'm just going to use the incoming signal. Let's make sure it has a lot of dynamic to it. So I'm turning up gain. Remember, if you watched my previous tutorial, the envelope follower does not actually change the quality of the sound at all. It just takes the incoming signal and generates a value based on that. So I'm going to use this to control the input on this echo. Now I'm going to make it to just be unipolar instead of bipolar, and instead of going upwards, it's going to go downwards. Yeah, let's try somewhere around there. So what this means is that the higher this line goes, the lower the input goes, which means that you're always sort of protecting the system from completely crapping itself. So let's connect you to there. Let's just smooth out this line a bit with the little. Now I feel like these are going too far. We're getting a little bit too. Yeah, so let's just make this 30 and you can be 25. What happens if we turn repitch off? This is nice. I kind of like that a bit more. Yeah. Now let's add in a little bit of a little bit more. I'm just minimizing some of these things. Wait. Let's try a different modeler here. Let's go for the super long, some big spaces. Let's change the EQ in here a little bit. This is nice. Yeah, let's just add a little bit more sort of regulatory volume stuff right at the start of the whole chain. So we're going to use a utility. Surprise, surprise, we're going to use another LFO. I only want to go from 0 to 50. Remember, we don't want gain going all the way up to plus 36. We're going to put this on random, with a little bit of jitter, a lot of smooth. And let's just map you to here. So this really helps create more waves in the whole system as well. maybe on this EQ at the end, need to just bring down some of these sort of harsher things that are happening in here. Maybe it's nice to have one more reverb in here as well. Yeah, let's use hybrid reverb again. In here, just to sort of smooth out some of that stuff that's happening in the OTT and the distortion. Yeah. So there you go. Self-regulating, self-playing feedbacks. Ooh. So what I often like to do is resample a bunch of this stuff and chop it up, find nice points, or even just use this as something to improvise with. It brings in these beautiful tones. Depending on how fast you have all of your LFOs going up and down, for instance, if I was to come in here and change the speed of some of these LFOs, flibbity-flobbiting around in the EQ, then we get a lot slower moving sounds, and the whole thing evolves a lot slower. Likewise, if I was to come in here and slow down some of the LFOs on the echo, the whole thing becomes a lot slower as well. These are moving around, well, I mean, we're quite slow, but they can be slower, and that's going to create a lot more slowness, slow evolving textures. But yeah, there you go. This is how we use Ableton to create sort of a self-regulating, self-playing feedback patch. Thank you for staying to the end if you made it. Please feel free to comment any ideas or suggestions, things for future videos, things that you do with patches like this that take it a step further. Always love hearing other people's suggestions as well. So yeah, enjoy feeding things back.